Sometimes Mike can be real condescending. Today on the ManSpace. Welcome to the ManSpace podcast. We're your hosts, Doctors Matt Brown and Rob Porter, and clinical therapist Mike Porter. Welcome, Spacemen.
Is that because I made the 15-minute comment?
Yeah, we've been recording for 15 minutes.
The funny thing is, the only reason I said it is because so often you were about to start recording, you're like, hey, are you even recording yet?
I don't even.
So,
I didn't actually think.
I could hear the tone, though. Like, dude, I could hear the tone, but it wasn't, and like, I didn't mean to.
No, listen.
Yeah.
I gotta not mess with you. I was totally just messing with you. Actually, I
know
something
you
else
were.
I was going to say.
But I still hear
it. Good
it.
Face. It looked like it really sank in. Like you're going to go home and be like, why am I so condescending to Rob?
Dude, I'm wondering why you're descending so much. Like your table's past your nipples.
Yeah, you're like at the big kids table. Oh, look out.
Okay. It's the desk that's moving. Dude, this is like that elevator
trick.
It's I feel like I have to wait till it gets all the way up to height before I can bring it back down.
How did you buy legs to do that?
Table legs that were best decision I've made. They were only like $120.
Yeah, Rob's got the seaport crane sitting there on his desk.
Mm-hmm.
That's about what it looks like.
Takes the containers and puts it on the ship.
No,
that'd be an awesome little game to play while you're doing a session. Let's take this problem and move it over here.
Oh, now you're back.
My table's at this height, so I can know this is the same height it was at before. I'm just not sitting down as far in my chair. I put it at this height so I can cross my legs under the table.
You saying I made the table wrong?
No, I'm saying the bar that raises it sits there in the middle.
Yikes. Oh, I must put my foot in my trash. So
that's embarrassing for you.
It is a little embarrassing for me.
What hat is this you're wearing?
This is my ground treasure hat. It just says
like you found it on the ground.
Found it on the ground. I was out running one morning and there was just two hats. One was
you legit found it on the ground.
Yes. I've actually found
you've washed it, I'm hoping.
Of course. No. Why? What do you mean?
I mean, he doesn't have hair, so it doesn't really matter.
True. It's a hat, Matt.
It's not like he can get lice from it. Yeah.
It's I've actually found hats multiple times. One time I was out riding like a long ride on a Saturday. And all of a sudden I ride past this hat. I was like, what's that? So I circled back around, went and picked it up, and rode it with it for another like 20 miles, just hanging off my bike. And I wear it camping.
Nice.
This one, I brought it home and washed it, and I was like, I actually really freaking love this hat. Everyone thinks it's a Longhorns hat because it's like the burnt orange.
Well, yeah, it looks like that until you tilt your head, and then it looks like a branded piece of pizza.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. It just says TexCon. I don't know what TexCon is. Probably some sort of like oil
Comic-Con.
Oh, that sounds good. TexCon oil. It's TexCon oil. What? Who knew? Apparently I did. All right. Well,
there's lots of TexCons, dude.
There's
TexCon General Contractors, TexCon Utility, Drone Responders, TexCon Drone Responders.
It's all of a sudden become the mystery hat.
It's just ground treasure, man. You just take things for what they're worth.
I heard some story one time about, I don't know why this person was jumping on a train, or maybe they were getting on like a subway, or I don't know. That doesn't make sense. Anyway, they were getting on something like that, and their shoe fell off, and they like just really quickly reached for their other shoe and pulled it off and chucked it out there too. And someone was like, "Why'd you do that?" And they're like, well, whoever finds my shoe should have the other one.
Shoot. That's good. That's very thoughtful,
Well,
really.
whoever finds it should have the other one.
You could say it's the antithesis of rejection.
I guess that's a stretch, but nice segue. I was actually, nope, I just lost it. I'll have to tell you guys later. It's something for later. Don't worry about it.
The after party.
Yeah, the one that people have to pay for, that even this I wouldn't put on there. So today, Spacemen, raise your hand if you've ever been rejected. Like the idea of someone being like, me. It's funny because I think we've a long time ago we've talked about this, and there was a TED talk about a guy who had been he was like afraid of rejection, so he just went and forced himself to be rejected over and over again. Like he'd ask for a stranger, like, can you give me $100? And they'd be like, no. Or he'd go to McDonald's, be like, can I have free food? And they'd be like, no. He just wanted to hear no over and over, so he became okay with it. But we're not talking about getting free food from McDonald's today. I've had some clients lately ask me, and actually asked directly, and I guess this is partly why I was like, well, I want to know what you guys would say to this, because it was the first time that somebody said, how do I learn to deal with that kind of rejection? So one of my clients was speaking specifically about like relational rejection. Not just, I mean, the easiest place to go for that for most men to say, when have you been rejected in your relationship, is sex. Because every dude will say, I've been rejected with sex. I think there's other types of rejection. This guy wasn't even talking about sex. He was just kind of talking about, what do I do when she's telling me to like get away from her, like leave me alone. So I guess. Well, actually, I guess I wonder first. I tend to think that most men, most of the time, when you look at a lot of their behaviors, it's like, it's like, well, why does it matter if your wife's in a bad mood? It's like, well, I don't want her to be upset. It's like, and it's like, well, and it's uncomfortable. It's like, and it's like, I'm not going to have sex tonight. Like if I dig down far enough with most men, it's like, yeah, I mean, that's off the table. And it is,
and every man knows the moment it happens.
Have we talked about that? Like the moment that like sex is off the table?
Yeah.
That movie?
It's funny because if you ever bring it up,
yeah, go ahead.
Like with clients, like the wife, like I've had a handful of times where I'll say it, and the wife looks at me and then looks at her husband and he goes, oh, every time. And she's like, wait, what? And he's like, yeah, I know exactly when I blow it.
Like that's when I know the door closes. He's getting rejected even pre-rejection. This is what I think is really interesting, actually, is women are being accused of or attributed with rejection when they haven't even done it yet.
Right. Nothing's even happened.
Yeah, it's just we read women so much sometimes that it's like, oh, it's off the table. And actually, I think we do that on purpose as a way of avoiding rejection. I don't want to hear outright, I don't want to do that. And so it's like, cool, I'm not going to bother tonight. But then you still get all grumpy at your wife because it's like, and she's like, why are you grumpy? It's like, nothing. Walking around the house pouting. So I don't know if I have a question around this. Like I do, because he asked me so directly, like this is already jumping into the tri-tip. Like, I don't know. I think my tip in this, before I get to that, or maybe I will, but my tip has to do with like context. Like, am I being, let me see if I can describe this right. Am I being too generalized when I assume most men, because I guess I'm going to tie this mostly into sex. Today, I think even when men are saying, no, I'm not, it's not sex. It's like, I know it's not always sex. Sometimes I think it's that you just want to feel desire coming from her towards you, right? and often desire, like sexual desire, even if you don't have sex, or you want her to like, you want it to feel like she likes you and is attracted to you, right? More than just like we're friends. It's like you made her laugh in a way that's like, I can see that you like me. But am I wrong in thinking that even that stuff is like, and then maybe we'll have sex? Tell me I'm wrong. Because most dudes, when I get them there, they're like, yeah, it's that.
Yeah.
Am I not wrong? You guys aren't saying anything.
So I that's the thing. I don't think you are wrong, but
the motivation isn't as simple as just sex.
Well, I think
and sex isn't just, like you said, it's
right.
not
it's
just,
not just sex.
Yeah.
Like I think it's possible as a man to get to a place where, like, yeah, sure, my hope is sex, but I'm legitimately okay if it doesn't happen. Like,
okay,
I'm not going to spend the evening pouting because I've been told it's not happening. Right? Like, no, it's cool. Like, and so I think it's possible to have both, where you do something and you're thinking, well, I mean, it'd be nice to have sex. But then if it doesn't happen, okay.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen.
Does that mean, if you can get to that point, does that mean it doesn't feel like rejection? Or is it still rejection? You're just cool with rejection?
I don't know that I would classify it as rejection, but I think this is my, like, how do you guys, I don't want to say define rejection.
I was going to get into that. Like, there's got to be different ways of looking at different types of rejection.
But that's like, rejection to me feels, I don't want to say that it feels like malignant or like malicious, because I don't think there's necessarily a desire to hurt. But rejection doesn't feel passive. It's an active thing. Right? Like, okay. I was thinking about this morning. The word violation came up. And I thought, there's a difference between, like, for example, violating a law and failing to do something. Those are two different things to me. I can fail to do something, and in failing to do it, I can still break the law. But that's different than violating the law. Violating the law, I knowingly am making a decision that runs counter to the law. I'm doing this thing knowing full well that I am breaking the law. Not anytime I speed, because I am a somewhat distracted driver. So there are times I speed that I'm like, oh, so I'm going 10 over? Cool. Right? And I didn't realize I was going 10 over until I looked down and I saw I was going 10 over. And I think, yeah, that's different than saying, I'm setting my cruise control at 10 over. No, that's a very active thing. And I feel like rejection, there's an aspect of activity to it. Like, I'm actively making a decision to say, you know what? Not you.
Okay.
But I don't like, I'm open to having other
in
definitions
that context,
for that. But
no, I can see that. In that context, though, would you say, when it comes to sex and marriage, for example, or in a relationship, would you say that there's ever a time when it's rejection? That the person saying, I don't want to have sex, is saying, not you.
Yes.
Like, I've had sex with a neighbor, but not you.
It is. See, but I don't think that's the same thing either. Because
that's infidelity.
Yeah, like, there you're into a different thing. Like, there you're talking about.
I don't mean to say they're actually going to do it, but I mean to say, because to say not you, that's what men are hearing all the time. if the wife is
Right.
like, I don't want to have sex tonight, what they hear is not you.
Right.
And then when infidelity
Right.
happens, that's even worse because it's like, it really wasn't me. You wanted somebody else to do this with.
Right.
But in
but
this
I think
context, go ahead.
that's the thing. I think there are times we take things more personally than they are. Right. We've talked about this example before. You compliment somebody.
Uh-huh.
Like the number of times people have said to me, "Oh my gosh, Mike, your brother is so funny."
And then
they follow it,
and you are not.
and then they follow it up with, "But I mean, you're funny too." And I think, until you added the caveat, I didn't think you were making a comment about my humor. Now I do.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think we have a tendency as people to hear they're making, like, that's commentary on me. Like, for example, if I say, to Matt, like, Matt, you're like a fantastic listener, like a great father.
What I'm not?
There's that possibility, right? That Rob hears that.
You took
Well, how
my
come he didn't
pizza
say I
pie?
was a good listener, right? Like, I'm a good listener too. I've been doing this longer than both of those guys. Like, and I just think, sure, I'm not making it right. Like, and I think it's the same thing is true with rejection. I think it's possible to say, I don't want to have sex with you. And it's not rejection. Like, I'm not saying I want to have it with someone else. I'm just saying I don't want to have sex. It's right. But again, it's going to be heard that way. Oh, so you're saying you don't want to have sex with me? No, I'm saying I don't want to have sex, period.
Yeah,
it's not about you. It's about me.
Yeah, that's why I differentiate it, because it's not, you're not saying I don't want to have sex with you. It's saying I don't want to have sex. That's different than with you. Right. That's what men hear.
Right. I understand. And I do think there are times.
That's not always what they hear, but anyway.
I do think there are times that a woman can actually reject her husband.
Uh-huh.
Like, I'm not saying
Agreed.
It doesn't exist. I'm not saying she's saying I want to have sex with someone else.
Yeah. I admittedly, I took it to an extreme. Okay, I get it. I mean, I do, because I do think there are times. I think there are times when it's like, if it's not sex, for example, like if it's like, I just need you to go away from me.
Mm-hmm.
That it's pretty hard not to hear that it's like, you don't want me around you, and that's like, that does feel like rejection, at least in this moment. Now, maybe it's not an overarching general rejection, but it is in this moment. Go away from me.
Yeah, but isn't that just a timeout?
Like, I need you to take a timeout, or what?
Well, isn't that what we say when we
need you to take a timeout for me?
when we encourage timeouts in couples, isn't one of the rules that you can't follow them around?
Yes.
Yeah.
But
Are you talking about that? Or are you talking about, like, I need space? Get away.
I'm talking about what the husband hears is get away from me. That's, to me, is different than timeout. Timeout is I need to go take a break.
She's not saying that. That's what he hears. You're saying?
No, what has been said is, I don't want you around me right now.
Right.
Still different than timeout to me.
I'm not saying it's a good way to ask for a timeout.
Yeah. Okay. I'll take that.
But I'm saying, isn't that what she's probably asking for? Isn't she probably saying, but my emotions are in a spot right now that I can't manage them?
Yeah, you're getting into where I would go with, like, what I told him in order to get past this.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the problem. Like, I can't, like, since you asked the question, I've been thinking of, like, to me, the first thing was, you're not hearing what you think you're hearing.
Yeah, or at least there's more to what you're hearing, right?
Yes.
Matt?
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like I've talked an awful lot today, which is not normal for me.
Good stuff.
I know it's been, I agree with all, like, the idea of needing to kind of understand. I think it's actually important for, we just take some words at face value, like rejection, period. This is all, it's like, it's not all the same. So it does matter to say, well, hold on, what are we actually talking about here? That's the beginning of this, is saying, what do you mean rejection? Because sometimes I think we take the feeling of being disappointed and we say, well, I was rejected. It's like, no, what you're feeling is disappointment. That's not the same thing as actually being rejected. I think that's important because it's, you can't actually say, I'm trying to think through if like you could somehow make rejected a feeling as much as saying,
Isn't it on the
there's a feeling
feelings wheel?
it might be, but that's, I feel
think
like,
it is.
should it
Probably.
be?
Yeah, I don't know, because it's like
It's an extension of what you
it's
felt.
like a thought about what
Yeah.
happened too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
An assignment of something.
Yeah. No, I like the idea of depersonalizing it, and not just depersonalizing it, but I think there's levels to it. Like, I've had people tell me that their partner has said, like, there's something wrong with you because you want to have sex
Oh,
in some way, shape, or form.
yeah, I've heard the opposite too. There's something wrong with you because you don't want to have sex.
Yeah, no, I've heard people say, like, it's they don't say there's something wrong with you, but sometimes they'll say, like, what's wrong with you? That's all you think about, right? And it's like, okay, well, guess there's something wrong with me, right? So I think that, I don't know how you don't take that personally, but then there's the, like, I'm too tired, I'm exhausted, I'm too stressed, I'm whatever, right? And that's probably where that hypervigilance comes from, where guys are reading every sign of, like, what's her energy level like? Is she yawning? Is she, like, like all that stuff, right? And like a yawn can be like, oh, great. And then like, and then there's like a shutdown, right? And then there's probably more the soft, like, I think a really good way to communicate no is like, hey, I'm not feeling it tonight, but what about, a couple days from now, or what, we're gonna have some time, tomorrow night or whatever. Like, just make it a relationship conversation. But I do think the reason that it feels maybe like rejection, or it gets framed that way, is partly that we don't have really good ways of describing what's going on for us.
Yeah.
Like, I like asking guys, like, dude, how many times in your life has somebody said, like, dude, how did that make you feel? Like, besides you? Like, yeah, they're like, none, right? And then if you ask a woman the same question, on average, it's going to be way more times in her lifetime. And so she's gotten way more practice, like, paying attention to and describing her inner experience.
What she's feeling.
Guys have had, like, no experience with that. And so I think that they're doing their best to say this is what's happening. But I also think for a lot of guys, it's like, I don't feel, because I'm not very aware of what goes on for me, or what I'm feeling when that happens. I also don't really feel totally in control of my sexual response. So when it turns on, I'm like, crap, like, I hope she's in the mood, right? Because it's like, shutting it down, I have to, like, shut you out. I have to shut the world out. I have to, like, get in this different mood to kind of, like, tamp it down.
Yeah.
And I think that's why a lot of women feel like they're kind of like caretakers of their husband's sexual response, because, like, well, I guess it's on. I guess I gotta, like, relieve the valve, right? And it's like, so I think that these types of questions, like you're talking about, Mike, help guys break down what's happening there. And I do think for a lot of women, I've heard a lot of women kind of project outward the conflicting feelings they have about something, where it's like, I feel tired and I feel exhausted and I'm not in the mood, and part of me received messages that that's my duty in marriage, so I feel guilty for not feeling that way, so I'm going to say there's something wrong with you.
Yeah, why do you want it so much? Why is that the only thing you think about? And
I think if both partners can start opening that up and say, this is what's going on in those moments, then it's much easier to depersonalize it. And I do think I I've talked to a lot of guys that are like, yeah, we had a conversation about it and she said, not now, but maybe let's plan for this.
Mhm.
And it's like, yeah, then it isn't like once I want sex, I can't like navigate through that. It's when I'm trying to navigate through that, plus it feels like there's something wrong with me for asking, even if it's just like a subtle thing, like I just reach over and start rubbing her back and she like scoots away from me. Right? It's like, ugh. And then I think men tell themselves a lot of stories like, what the crap? Like, is this what life is going to be like for the next 40 years? And like, you get like all worked up. Like, the stories that go on in our heads, I think, are really important to pay attention to in moments like that too. But
That's
Well,
go ahead, Mike.
I was just going to say, I think too, there's, I think there's an idea of control here. I think part of where this gets frustrating for men is oftentimes we don't feel like whether we have sex is within our control. Like you mentioned, like where, once a guy is turned on, the woman might feel that pressure. They're like, well, I guess that's my job to get that relief. But I've also talked to men over the years where they have been angry and not in the mood to have sex. And they'll, talk about like, well, my wife slid her hand up my thigh. And he goes, and suddenly like my body's like, so we're doing this now? And he's like, and it's, I don't know how to stop it. Mm-hmm. And he goes, so then I'm having sex. And he goes, and then we're finished. And I'm just pissed that we're like, seriously? Like, why did I just let that happen? And so I think there's an aspect associated with rejection. Like, I think that's what makes the conversation that you mentioned such a potentially powerful thing, is because it helps balance the perception of power in that dynamic, right? It shifts it. Like, my guess is if you were to, blind survey 100 men, a freakishly high percentage would say, yeah, the wife decides when we have sex. Mm-hmm. It's not a me decision, it's a her decision.
Right.
Which is inaccurate, but and so I think having that conversation helps bring that back. It helps bring it back to a place of like, no, this is like, I'm able to say what I want, and then we're able to find a solution that addresses where we are today and where we are as a couple. And so I think it helps bring back some of that perception of like, oh, this isn't a thing that my spouse is deciding. Like, this is a couple decision. We're making it together.
Mm-hmm. I do think, though, that like the high number of men who would say that, I think it's important just to recognize that when we're at our worst, we are really self-protective. And so it's not untrue that in, a decent amount of relationships, sex is kind of a, like, it's used strategically, right? Mm-hmm. Because it's protective, and guys are like, maybe going all in, just to gain some control over, some influence over access to sex, and then giving up and being frustrated and resentful, and then then maybe all of a sudden sex appears, right? And so like, I think when we're at our worst, we have the capability of being that way, being really petty, being really like withholding, controlling, demanding, all of that stuff, right? So I think the danger is to say like, that's who we really are. I get why people say that, because it's like, I've done everything I can and it doesn't seem to be changing, so it must be just how you are, how I am. And I also don't blame anybody for like listening to any solutions for that with a lot of skepticism, especially when their situation's been really difficult. But yeah, we're all capable of, like you said, these types of conversations where we're saying, if it's not happening, right, then we're both struggling with something, right? If we don't have like a healthy connection, we're both struggling with something in some way. The way that we use that struggle and the way that we use it against each other is a problem, but it's not the problem. It's like just a manifestation of that deeper thing that we can't quite unlock and talk about openly, and allow there to be like very understandable, very normal challenges. Like sometimes the expectations we put on each other, where it's like, you know, she should want to have sex much more. Well, dude, statistically, it's probably popping up automatically in your mind and in your body way more than it does in hers, right? And he should just know how I feel and like be able to like tune into that and express that and know how he's feeling. Well, you've got like so much more experience in your life than he has with that, right? So it's not that we can't learn these things, we can't intentionally change, but I think it's important just to label like that's normal and it's okay. And like, why would we expect people to be something like completely different than what they've been trained to be before the training, I guess, before the change?
I think it's interesting. It makes me want to do a follow-up episode to this idea of, I guess, kind of what you're mentioning, Matt, with like how do we control our sex drive? Because I think that is pretty problematic. I think most people, when they get into relationships, really kind of believe almost like it's her problem now. I have a sex drive. She will take care of it. and then it really is like, I don't know what to do with it. And we also don't really seem to understand that, like, hey, you can turn that drive back down. You can put it into park. And it doesn't have to go through to completion in order to do that. But like both what you guys are saying, I think that's an important element to this that I actually, with the client I'm talking about, I put that on the back first, I put the conversation. You guys are talking about this conversation, sitting down and kind of talking through some things, whether it's about what does this mean, this rejection, knowing how to express what's going on for them, really recognizing that rejection is an experience of something. Like it is a lived experience that brings up like 20 emotions. It brings up disappointment and hurt and loneliness and fear and sadness. And it's all these things that it's easier for us to just say rejection, especially as men, because rejection is also, it is a vulnerable thing to say, like I feel rejected, because it can imply like I wasn't good enough. But it's also a little bit safe in the context that it implies somebody else did the rejecting. Like, so it can be, especially in the context of sex, we can just throw it onto women and say like, women, am I right? They just never want to have sex, And so it's like, it's not my fault I'm being rejected, it's women. And then we get back into this conversation of who's in control and who's not and who stereotypes. But at that point that you're making, Matt, too, of like, well, yeah, this isn't what we're trained to do. And we've talked before, we're not trained to share all our emotional experiences. We're trained to say, well, I feel rejected. At best, we're trained to say that. We're not even really trained to do that. We're trained to just be like, get over it, man.
Yeah.
But it's, it's kind of like we've mentioned on a previous episode about sex, that I remember watching a commercial once that was like, it was a Kia commercial. For some reason, this Kia drives onto a soccer field full of teenage boys playing soccer. And then this woman gets out wearing a really long dress with a slit like all the way up the side. So all that comes out first is her like, naked leg. And at first I was like, why is this supposed to make me want to buy a car? And then I also thought, why is it teenage boys and this girl getting out? But I did think, I sat there watching this and thinking, this commercial is designed to turn me on and then associate that feeling with driving a Kia. So I want to go buy a Kia. But my wife's going to see the same commercial and be like,
Rob,
this commercial is... Huh? I bought
what kind of minivan did you drive?
I bought a Kia. As soon as that commercial was over, I was like, hey, let's go get a Kia.
We need a Kia, honey.
And then Becky opens the door and like, then that leg comes out.
All leg.
But for my wife or for women seeing those same commercials, it's like, well, my body doesn't look like that, and I don't like, and so suddenly it's a turnoff for them. So it's it pops up a lot more for men than it does for women. It's designed. I shouldn't say it's designed like inherently. Our culture is now designing it that way. So even talking about those things, all these conversations, I think are necessary. But what I told him first, and this is just the way I view it, like in order to be able to have these conversations, you have to reframe the sting of rejection by recognizing that it may not actually be quote unquote rejection. So Mike, this is kind of what you're getting at too. And this is where I say context. Like I think, look, it is totally possible. For example, I watch some commercial and I get turned on, and then I'm like, hey, you want to, and recognizing that my wife may have just been turned off. And like, dude, I feel totally insecure about myself. No, I don't want to have sex right now. It's not you. I don't want to feel insecure and unattractive. And also maybe sometimes like, I don't want to feel like you got turned on by a commercial and now I have to take care of it. So you have to recognize it's probably not them telling you, I don't want you. You are disappointed, sure. But you have to recognize there's something bigger going on for them. Once you can recognize that, I think it's easier to say, hey, let's talk about this maybe at another time when I'm not all revved up and ready to go. But like, let's talk about like, hey, what is this like for you? How do we change this experience? How do we make it so what you're talking about, Mike, mixing with what Matt's talking about? Like, how do we make it so, not tonight, but I think tomorrow I can, give me a little lead time and I can get my head in that space. It's like, cool. It doesn't have to be like dance monkey,
Well, and that's like that was my
tip, by the way, for the tri-tip.
Over there. No, when it comes to that right space where this idea that he's turned on and now she has to take care of it.
Yeah.
At least as I've talked with a handful of women in couples over the years, it's often not this feeling of, well, great, he got turned on by a commercial and now I have to take care of it. It tends to be more often, so does he want to have sex with me or does he want to have sex with the leggy blonde who just stepped out of the van?
Yeah. And that's where the inadequacy is going to come in.
Like it's the insecurities, it's the inadequacies. It usually, it doesn't even make it to the other person.
Blonde.
I don't know. Was she not blonde?
She was blonde.
Oh, okay. I don't know why I just assumed she was blonde.
Because that's how they've conditioned us.
Yeah, I honestly, I don't even know if I've ever seen the commercial, but
probably not. But you can picture it.
Evidently, a blonde woman.
Yeah. Anyway,
but it's right. That's been one of the I think one of the things that's been harder for me to kind of wrap my head around as I've, had discussions in my own relationship, as I've talked to women in couples is just how much of a mental game it really is for them. And how very little it takes to get them in a place where it's like, even like, I can't think of any guy that has, with any kind of consistency, shot down his wife when she's put the moves on him. And yet I've talked to so many women who still feel a hesitation to initiate sex with their spouse.
Still worried about rejection.
Yeah. And I'm like, you've like never been rejected by your spouse. And they're like, right. But like, and I think, it's such a more complicated thing where, again, like, I guess for my tip just feels like it's not going to be that different than yours.
Okay.
I don't. Anyway, right?
Science shows.
No, it's just that idea of, and I, as much as you can when you're feeling what you're feeling, taking a step away from the emotional reaction you're having and just attempting to apply some logic to it. Like, again, rejection requires some amount of active, right? Like, you think about it, when I apply for a job and I'm rejected, no, they evaluated me and said no. In my experiences talking with a lot of the women I've talked to, it doesn't get as far as the other person, right? They're running through this list of, well, how am I feeling? Am I feeling attractive? Am I feeling sexy? Am I feeling bloated? Am I feeling, right, like insecure? Am I feeling like, what are all these things I'm feeling? And depending on how that comes out, they're just like, oh, I'm not having sex tonight. And I think, right, they never even got to the spouse. And so step back logically, like, for her to be rejecting you, she would have to have reached a point where she's just like, oh, not Mike. No.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably not happening. It probably never gets that far. So if you can lean back into the logic of it to give yourself kind of a place to recenter yourself and again, add some context to it, then I think you're on your way to a better place.
I like that. It was different.
Thanks. I tried.
Matt, give us
My
your
mind
tip.
went to a different place. My tip is hold your desire loosely.
Ooh.
Like,
That's gonna be
pay
that's
attention
the primer
to
for
how.
the follow-up episode.
What?
Keep going. As I said,
Oh.
that's the primer for the follow-up episode. Keep going.
Pay attention to how connected you get to seeing something through. Because I think we're taught, especially as men, hold something tightly, stay firm to it, and like charge forward with it and persist through challenges and obstacles and see it all the way through. And I think that is important with things that are kind of like one-time things. Like sex is an ongoing evolution in your relationship. And when that desire comes up, the amount of shame and fear you feel about your own sexuality is going to cause you to hold onto that desire tighter, right? In a more protective way. So you'll feel rejection more easily versus it's kind of like if you view it more like hunger, if you're like, I'm hungry, right? Well, how hungry? Like, am I like starving to death? Like if I don't eat in the next 10 seconds, I'm going to die? Or is it like, yeah, I could eat later tonight, right? Or I could eat, food kind of breaks down after a couple of days. I get that analogy breaks down, right? Like I can eat in 10 years, right? But I think if you hold it looser, part of the chemistry, I think, of like sexual language is confidence. When you hold something loosely and you could take it or leave it, you're more confident, right? And you tend to take more risks, I think, as a result of that. So like you might find yourself like initiating sex in more passionate and meaningful ways versus like, hey, so I think we can maybe do it tonight. It's like, or you
That's
say
so
it in
arousing.
ways that really make it sound like she's doing something for you, right?
Yeah.
Like, hey, you want to service me tonight? I can service you
Yeah.
back, right? It's like, okay, we just made ourselves sound like a quickie lube or something. Like, so like I think when you possess it, you're kind of like, I could let this go and I could see it through.
Yeah.
And maybe even giving yourself kind of like a rating in your own mind, like on a scale of 1 to 10, right? I would like to have sex tonight and I'm about at it like a 3 or a 5 or a 7 or and just paying attention to how your desire works so that you can bring it to your partner appropriately.
Yeah. I'm telling you, man. That's the primer for our,
What's the next episode?
I don't know if it's the next episode, but our follow-up episode where we talk about how do we manage and handle our own sexual drive and desire. Because I think there's a lot, we could do multiple episodes. There's a lot of misconceptions out there. I mean, I literally have, we've talked before about, I have dudes who have said like, it's a biological need for me to have sex. I'm like, okay, it's not. But even if it was, that just means it's a biological need to have an ejaculation. And that's not her responsibility either. But we'll get into that another time. So until then, Spacemen, come back and catch us next time on the ManSpace. Yes. No, I don't know what you're talking about.